The race for the presidential villa in 2023 has since begun, and more aspirants are declaring their interest for the #1 seat in the country. One of such candidates, or aspirants rather, is Prince Malik Ado Ibrahim, a businessman and also a politician. After decades of running successful businesses in renewable energy and automobile abroad, Prince Malik says it is time to throw his hat into the ring. Declaring his intention about 3 months ago, the presidential hopeful says this is no ordinary time in Nigeria, and extraordinary times calls for extraordinary measures. Prince Malik Ado Ibrahim joins me on Issues Today to talk about his presidential ambition, among other issues. Thank you for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
Yes. So first of all, let's begin. I mean, after having a successful business, why the choice to join this presidential race?
I must say that it was something that I had to really take some time to think about. I come from a family that has served Nigeria well, and we're very comfortable with that from every position, whether it's ambassador, IG, ministers. We've been there, we served Nigeria well. And in your introduction, you talked about extraordinary times, and I believe we're in extraordinary times. I believe that we have to proffer different solutions to the Nigerian people. And I also believe that at this point in time, Nigeria needs somebody that's a little bit more of a visionary. We stayed in the way we've done things, and I believe that we need to create more opportunities across the board, from our young people to our businesses to our power. Everything needs some fresh blood. And I'm proffering those solutions, and that's why I decided, well, there's no point talking about it. Let me get in there. It's my country. The Constitution allows me to do so. And it's an experiment in trying to give Nigerians some hopefulness. And I'm peddling hope more than anything else. And my expertise internationally, I think, will come to bear very well in this present position Nigeria finds itself.
All right, well, you talk about the Constitution, giving you all the rights as a citizen to run for that office. Are you concerned about some of our laws, say, for instance, the Electoral Amendment Bill, as regards, inclusion for women and youth?
That joint venture agreement called the Constitution starts off with the sentence, "We the people." It didn't say we the men, or we the chosen few. We need to be inclusive. Gender inclusivity in Nigeria is better than most countries around the world. It's certainly better than most African countries. Nigerian women are standouts. I don't care where you measure them with. Internationally, at the United Nations, in banking, in finance, we have been blessed with women who are extraordinarily well educated and visionary. But at home, we're not giving them that opportunity. Young girls need mentors and figures that they can look up to. We should be celebrating our women, encouraging the young ladies in the country to look forward to coming to serve the nation and coming to be involved in Nigeria. And with regards to youth, the women are included in that box as well. And it's important that we show. Again, this word hope is underappreciated. We need to give our young men and women hope of a better tomorrow. Not that the better tomorrow is in Europe, in America, it's here. We just need leadership that allows us to expose the opportunities and have visionary leadership that takes us to the promised land.
I mean, talking about, opportunities for young people, at the moment we are dealing with a very high rate of unemployment in the country. What sort of, investments, does Nigeria need to absorb the teeming youth it has at the moment? I mean, if you look at all the things that we're dealing with, really.
Yes. We are doing repetitive business in Nigeria. We're doing the same thing over and over again, looking for result, praying and hoping that something good will come up. The COVID situation has exposed the frailties of our governance. It shows that we are not prepared. There's so many opportunities. It doesn't matter which subject you pick on, whether it's agriculture or healthcare or power. Nigeria is lacking in ingenuity, in foresightedness, in visionary leadership that takes us to the next level. 60% unemployment amongst the youth. Do you know that the oil and gas sector here is where everybody wants to go to? They think it's a safe job. You're working in government with an NPC. But if you look around the world, the renewable energy sector employs more people. In America, it employs more people than the oil and gas sector. In Europe, I think it's 2 or 3 times more employment amongst young people. The ingenuity of youth is used in renewables. The world is going towards a cleaner environment and renewables. The job opportunities in Nigeria, where we're blessed with infinite sunshine, are massive. In the production of power, just solar manufacturing, solar plants being built, we could employ a tremendous amount of people. And the multiplier effect of that is industries, especially in places like the Northeast and the Northwest. In fact, northern Nigeria, where the sun and the irradiation is very strong, the unemployment number would be unbelievable, because we would be employing these young minds into not just the practical sense of running solar power plants, but also the follow-on effects of industries working, the tanneries in Kanu working, food production working. There's so many opportunities, but without visionary leadership, it's just not going to happen.
I mean, talking about these opportunities and the energy sector, this is a sector that a lot of money has been invested in.
Yes.
You know, and yet we do not see commensurable results in that sense. What exactly is the problem with Nigeria's energy sector? Talking from, I mean, you know, if you may speak from experience and someone who, you know, is experienced in that regard as well.
You know, we have gone back to understanding what our colonial masters, if we will, have done. We've just copied and pasted that, and we've continued with conventional power. The world has moved past where Nigeria is today. In 2016, this administration, the Buhari administration, had a very laudable idea of having an energy mix of renewables and conventional and hydro, and all these things were going to be great. Till date, nothing has been done. Power purchase agreements were signed, investment came in, and as usual in Nigeria, we just seem to fall flat at the last moment, the last hurdle. Implementation and execution has failed. The way power is distributed in Nigeria today is using an old-aged transmission system that's up there, it's running, but it has a capacity and it's full to capacity. We haven't expanded, we haven't invested. Money has been thrown at this problem. I don't want to name names, but administrations have poured in billions that is invisible to the eye. We cannot see any palpable change. Renewables do something different. We don't rely on transmission. We can take power and put it where it's needed. We use the sun. We use a hybrid system of the sun, the grid, and hydro, and whatever else, even wind, to put power into places. We're still trying to do it the old way, and the old way has left us behind. People are doing things in a lot more modern, more renewable and more ecologically friendly way, and it creates jobs, and it has a follow-through effect, and we're just not, vision is not there.
Really. Now, aside vision, I mean, we could have visionary leaders, but the implementers, you know, of some of these visions sometimes do not key into the vision of the people leading. Then that's a basic problem here, especially if you look at the level of corruption.
Absolutely.
How is that a problem to, you know, implementing some of the things, beautiful ideas that we have?
Well, I hasten to say that the leader is responsible. You must put a square in a square. There's no point putting a barrister and asking him to do the work of the power ministry. He's clueless. Yes, he can learn on the job, but he's clueless. So we need to put the right people, and the leadership is responsible for those people. You cannot say, I put a minister there and I don't know what he's doing. I, as a leader, will say, get this done, and the minister's job is to make sure it gets done, or move him and get somebody who's capable of doing it. We work for the people. We're not to be congratulated as a road ministry, and because I build a 20-kilometer road, everybody's hailing me. That's my job. That's what I'm getting paid for. That's what I'm doing to serve the people. So the reality is that we really need to stop looking at the blame game. It starts at the top, it ends at the top. And if you're not delivering good leadership skills, if you're not employing the right ministers, if you're not implementing things, having oversight, a road's supposed to be built. Was it built? Who's responsible if it wasn't built? And if it was built, was it built to specification? These are things that we see in other countries. Corruption's everywhere. But let's do the people's work. And that's the kind of management skill that I think a businessman can bring into running Nigeria. I'm not a politician. I'm not coming in to politicize anything. I want my country to work. I want to take my people and get them to work. And I want to proffer ideas. I want that passport to mean something. I want the name Nigeria to mean something again. But we have had lackluster leadership on every level. And we can't just keep pointing fingers at the top. The top employs the next level. But you know, in our democracy, we have the judiciary, we have the executive, we have the legislative. Everybody's got to do their job, and a good leader will make sure that is done.
All right, now there's a close, I would say, direct correlation between, investment and infrastructure. Absolutely. We have a deficit here in terms of infrastructure in Nigeria.
Yes.
How can we drive people that would invest, in this system?
If we take the basic infrastructure of Nigeria, everything goes by road. Rail is new and hopeful, but even that is below par. Back in the old days, when Nigeria was growing and expanding and pure to itself, the government had the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. It employed people to work on the infrastructure of the country. When the international companies came in, we started giving them those contracts and we shut down the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing. The jobs went to people, but it didn't go to the majority of the profitability of that work was to the pockets of the people, not to the betterment of the people. In my own understanding of that is that if you look at countries like America or in anywhere in Europe, when an administration sees that unemployment is high, the first thing they do is go back to infrastructure, roads and bridges. But if you have to give contracts out, they're all about the profit. We have to go back to the old system of bringing people into the building of the infrastructure. Let them have some ownership in Nigeria. The investment, I don't think is really needed because we have so much wealth in the country. We have to manage our wealth well. The necessary tools for building better roads are all here. We have asphalt plants. We have everything that's needed from our petrochemical sector, the tar, the bitumen, everything is in Nigeria. We just have to decide that it's Nigeria for Nigerians, and we make the best, make Nigeria great. When the Trump administration came in, it had the MAGA idea, make America great again. It went America first. The leadership of Nigeria needs to go back to that and say Nigerians first. I don't need to take my money outside for a foreign company to do this. I want my Nigerians to be able to make that money, to be proud of what they do, and to look back and say, we built that road. I didn't need a company from China or America or Germany or wherever it is to be able to build that road. And that is going back to basics.
All right, now if you take a look at the conversation about economic diversification in Nigeria, that's an age-long discussion.
Yes.
And you look at the investments that government is making in agriculture, and then despite all of that investments, this issue of insecurity, and so we have food inflation in the country. Are we making the right investments as far as agriculture is concerned?
There are so many things that we want to talk about with agriculture that it's just scary that we are not getting it right. We were an agro nation before we found oil and gas, cotton, sesame, cassava, palm oil. We were doing all these things and we were doing it well. Yes, we found oil and that was a blessing, but we left the farm and we went into the oil and gas sector. We do sustenance farming. I farm, I can't sell, so I eat. That's what the farmer does. In most countries, it's a cash crop. I produce, I sell abroad, I get my cash, and I can eat what I want to eat. Exporting products was what we were good at. Now we're not even in the value chain. Everything is wrong. Even from processing, that infrastructure, that road we were supposed to build that will allow the product to go from the farm to the market is terrible. So the product I'm making will not get to where it needs to get. And if it gets there, 50% of it is rotten or perished by the time it gets there. Food insecurity in Nigeria is really where I think the nation has the best opportunity to grow. But where our leaders are now talking about it as if it's without any attachments to it. Go to the farm, go to farming, and do what? What am I supposed to do if I go to the farm and farm for what? And how do I get the product I farm back to where it needs to go? So my thinking is a little bit different. Get the farming infrastructure right. The enabling environment needs to be there, and I don't think you need to be giving these CBN loans to people. Give them the necessary infrastructure to do it. And the simple way of doing it is they bring modernity into farming. It's not about carrying a hoe and back-breaking work. There are tractors that do that. There's combine harvesters to do that. There's electronics to monitor what the weather is doing. We need to give our people hope. And so a leader says, we're going into farming. This is what we're going to do. We're going to have maybe state-owned farms in which you can come and pick a crop in which you want to grow. We grow it, we help you with the export of the product. What you don't export, we take into the market. But there are strategies to do that. There's implementation of infrastructure. There's export markets that you need to go. The president of Nigeria is the CEO of the biggest farm. We have 64 million hectares of unused farmland in Nigeria. That is money in the ground that we're not talking about.
Again, but you know, well, government is making quite a bit of efforts. I mean, if you look at the Anchor Borrowers program, for instance,
yes.
Just 2 weeks ago, we saw the rice pyramid, you know, here in Abuja, and, you know, coupled with other sectors like the cotton farmers as well, who have benefited from the Anchor Borrowers program. But most of the times the experience, you know, from these farmers is that because of insecurity, they are not able to, you know, produce as much.
Yes.
In some instances, they even, you know, have to abandon some of the farms because of, you know, issues of insecurity. So how can we handle that? I mean, the northern part of the country is where you have most of the farmers, you
yes.
know, producing, you know, some of the crops that we consume. So how can we ensure safety for farmers?
Absolutely. So I will start with the Anchor Borrowers program. In itself, the way it was designed does not really help the farmer. At the end of the day, you have to bring all sorts of guarantees and warranties and your children or whatever it is to secure that loan. It is not as simple as it sounds. The commercial banks are the ones that really frustrate the farmers. When you do get that money with the interest rate you're supposed to have in single digits, ends up being a lot more than that, because forget the banking side of it, all the crops you produce and getting them to market are extraordinarily expensive. The roads, the trucking, all that does not make sense. So whether you get the product at a cheap price and getting it to market, it's extraordinarily expensive. And that's if the infrastructure is available. If you have insecurity, that loan I gave you is useless, because I can't farm what I promised you I'm going to farm because the insecurity is there. And because that insecurity, I can't pay my loan. So it's that's the government sort of not in charge of security, but also cannot give me the security I need, and I cannot pay back my loan. So instead of looking at things like the Ruga, let's create farm areas, be very specific. We're growing onions here, we're growing tomatoes there. Let's create safe zones. And these safe zones, we see them in countries like Myanmar, we've seen them in many countries where they've been war-torn before, and this has given confidence. By the way, that man that's also coming to come and get your land is probably a local also, or steal your crop. If he knows that this man's making money from this crop, and I can do the same, he's going to jettison his AK-47, forget his bombing activities, and he's going to go back to the land and say, well, if Mohammed next door can do this and can be making the kind of money he's doing, then I want to be able to do that. And I'm not just talking practically, I'm actually involved in such projects in Adamawa State. And it's just been tremendous to see how Nigerians have accepted that. And they secure themselves. They know when strangers come in. They're hopeful, they're investing in their communities, and they're protecting their investment. And that's where things will change. We know when a stranger comes in, and we know when there's problems around. So yes, it's nice to be able to give money, but money is not the solution to everything. The enabling environment will solve a lot of the issues at hand. All
right, now let's talk a bit about insecurity just before we go for our break. There's a serious issue with security in the country.
Absolutely.
There are those who say that, look, you cannot deal with the issue of insecurity in Nigeria through mainly kinetic means. there has to be a combination of both kinetic and non-kinetic. How do we strike a balance, in terms of investment in, hardware, military hardware, to deal with criminals and terrorists, and also at the same time take care of, the welfare of people at the local communities?
Absolutely. So, one of the proudest things I can imagine any Nigerian would have felt growing up in my age group is that Nigeria liberated so many countries in Africa. We are warriors. We've Liberia, Sierra Leone, Kosovo, Congo, Darfur. We're there. Our soldiers were brilliant and have been world hailed for the bravery and their commitment to their craft. We've lost a lot of that because we didn't invest in modernizing our armed forces. We're still using the same tools we did in the 70s, 80s, 90s. The modernity is not there. The investment, the money has been given, but it hasn't gotten to the point. Again, it's the Nigerian problem. Nobody's overseeing what's being done. There hasn't been a roadmap, a vision. Okay, we're going to go from propeller aircraft to supersonic jets, and this is who we're getting it from. We have a mishmash of everything. The next chief comes in and he picks something completely different. We need to retool. We need to create an enabling environment for greatness for our Army again, and our Navy and our Air Force. We need to recruit better. We need well-educated people. And it's not just about carrying a gun. We're an AK-47 nation. I say this all the time. Your armed robber, your bandit, your kidnapper, your herdsman, your police, your army, your navy, everybody has an AK-47. So we're at parity. You shoot me, I shoot you. If I stand 1 meter away from the active distance of that gun, you can't get me. I will retool a military that has better arms, better protection, better wages, better welfare. Give them the spirit of working for a country that believes that they are sacrificing their lives for, which is what we gave them in the past. We should be decimating our enemy. Our enemy is from within. We have porous borders. Technology can allow us. We don't need to build a fence. This is in Mexico. We have electronics. We have the NATCOMSAT with one of the most advanced satellite stations in the world. Nigeria can see 98% of Africa, and we should be able to secure our borders using these forms of technology. But we built it, Obasanjo put it up there, and the next administrations didn't use it to do what it was supposed to do. We found Katrina when it was about to happen in New Orleans, but we cannot see arms coming from Libya or from Niger or from Chad, or movement of trucks. No, we can. Okay. We just need to do better.
All right, well, we'll take a quick break now, and then when we come back, I'll get your thoughts on recent coup sprees, across the African continent. Yes. As an ex-diplomat yourself. So stay with us. We'll go on the short break, and then when we come back, the discussion continues. Please stay with us.
The idea was to give the interim government confidence that there is somebody, a military man, who is well known, who can be accepted.
You alluded to the case of your son, Umar Farouk. Are you in touch with him?
Yes, he phones us 2 times, sometimes 3 times in a month.
As always, when I'm talking about late Abiola, I still thank my God for directing me on things to do when he gave me that leadership of this country.
Many of you honest Fulanis, you allow this man to cast aspersion on you.
Zamfara is the mother of all bandits.
The biggest problem, if you permit me, is the fact that we have not been able to get the totality of our citizenry.
It's very, very difficult to have a fixed mind like that this one you will hand over to this person because you think you will do better.
I don't see myself under no circumstance ever leaving APC for another political party.
Here on the Mambila Plateau. And this is where the hydroelectric power dam is supposed to be constructed.
Most people in Nigeria are ignorant of the fact that employing a child as a maid is in fact against the law.
Access to the textile mill has been very difficult.
I believe, or I think that if you want to make money, it should be in a place where there are not plenty of people that can do what you do.
From the way things are happening now, I don't think the two parties will make an impact.
I've been talking about the updates concerning the campaign of Nigerian Super Eagles in Abuja.
Bola Tinubu has informed President Muhammadu Buhari of his ambition to contest for the position of president.
To be self-reliant, a blind man defies all odds to become a carpenter in Gombe State.
The country is now experiencing a fourth wave of the COVID-19 pandemic with the emergence of the Omicron variant.
Talks are ongoing between NRC management and the union.
All right, thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining, you're watching Issues on Trust Television, and here today we are talking about, political inclusion as panacea to national development. We have in the studio Prince Malik Ado Ibrahim, a businessman and also a presidential hopeful, talking to us about his ideas on how to fix Nigeria, reset Nigeria, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
All right, now let's talk about what's happening around us. On the African continent, over the past few months, there have been coups after coups in a lot of countries. African leaders are meeting, in Ethiopia, and then there was a meeting also in Ghana. What exactly is fueling these coups? Is democracy failing in Africa?
Well, we've adopted a Western form of democracy. And that form does not really, it doesn't translate to what is African, what is about us, our tribes, our religion. We're not, we're more dynamic than the classic democratic model. Our politicians have failed us because they realize that our people are not focused on them, they're focused on just living. And they get away with all sorts of things. History is repeating itself in the heydays of the coups, because the military are sitting there, just as they are in Nigeria, watching what's going on and saying, you're not doing the people's deeds. The bidding of the people should be your paramount importance. You're worried about who's going to be chairman of this party. You're worried about all sorts of immature elements. You're not governing. And so the military man sits there and figures it out and says, well, you know what, I've got something that stops that from happening. We're lucky in Nigeria because we've got some sort of control. I wouldn't say the words, forgive me for using the word control for the military, but we have some a measure of superiority as a democratic nation. Our politicians lead our military. But we're not too far away from something that drastic happening in Nigeria as well. It just means that we're lucky we haven't found a passionate individual that wants to do his own bidding. Politicians have to realize they have to go back to what they're supposed to be doing for the people, and they are doing it by people. They were once there. They forget once they put those lofty babarigas on and they get into those chambers that, at one point that pothole that used to go across is still there, you never fixed it, and you're going to go back to your village and it's still going to be there. The military in the neighboring countries have taken, and they're all francophone. There's a mystique to the way they do things. They're a little bit different from us in the way that the francophone nations are really politicized and engineered from France. We don't have that kind of colonial genetic with the UK. We are individuals, but age has played a very big part in this. And I don't even need to look at this statistics. I'm sure just from my basic knowledge that the democracies that we see and call democracies today are with aged individuals. They're probably from their late 80s to their early 70s. These coup leaders, I guarantee you none of them is over 40. This is the problem. If you're not going to, if you're going to hold on to power for 40 odd years, if you're from some of the neighboring countries we have, 30 odd years, 25 odd years, when your constitution says 2 terms, 8 years, power is taken, not given. That's why these coups are happening.
So this seems like a circle, because if you go memory lane, this happened in the past.
Absolutely.
Most of the sit-tight rulers that we have in Africa today themselves, some of them came through these coups.
Absolutely.
So, and the coup doesn't necessarily, change anything, from what we've seen. No. So, what's the best approach to this? How can we, get more young people involved in the process so that they don't feel excluded or see the need to engage in any form of forceful takeover?
We talk about this idea of a permanent voters card as being some kind of like a BVN number that you have. You get your PVC, I fault INEC in some of the problems we're having. Why aren't you going on channels such as this and all the conventional media and social media and telling young Nigerians why they need their PVC, advertise, where do you get it, what do you do when you have it, what is the ballot revolution going to be about? If you didn't vote in 2015 or 2019, you're living in somebody else's country. You're living in the country of those who voted because you have no say. And because you have no say, Nigeria is not for you, so you shouldn't be upset. We need to get these young men and women really focused on what they want Nigeria to be tomorrow.
How do we get them involved? I mean, for a lot of the young people, there's a loss of confidence in the process.
Yes.
There's a loss of hope. That some of them don't see anything, possibly changing in the near future because there's something that looks like a hijack of the whole process. And young people do not even stand a chance, in running for offices because of issues of godfatherism, monetization of the whole process,
yes,
and all of that.
Yes.
So how do we get young people interested, in politics again?
Again, it goes back to youthfulness. There are people who are running, changing their ages, pretending to be hip and everything else, trying to convince these young people that they are the future. They are dinosaurs. They are really dinosaurs. When this country was being led to greatness, 29-year-olds were running this country. 34-year-olds were running this country. You know exactly who I'm talking about. They're still there today. Some of them have gone back to their villages and towns and relaxed. Some of them are still agitating some ambition to run a country, to be a president of a country. We don't want a president. We want a leader. Young people have to believe that this person sees the light the way they do it, understands the dynamic of tomorrow, not yesterday, can come and talk to me about what I'm doing on social media and understand the power of that tool, not try to shut it down because I don't agree with it. Young people need to feel that the man that's sitting in front of them on television, on international visits, represents the best of who they are. And that is what happened to Macron and Barack Obama. They peddled hope. They did things that nobody thought were possible. A first black president, a president that was in his 30s. This is what the revolution that Nigeria needs to be focused on. And young people need to, it's difficult. To answer your question, there are so many things that we are not doing right, but we're forced not to do them right because it keeps certain types of people in power. And that godfatherism or the sensation of money, meaning I have power, and that thirst to be leading a country, to be president of a country, is just there. It's my ambition and I've got to do it. One way or another, sooner or later, another young person will rule this country because just the rule of nature, the old will die, the young will live, the young shall grow. Mm-hmm. And so we need to start looking at grooming good leadership. There's no mentoring. Tell me a president that left somebody behind that he mentored that is now in a political position.
And that's a problem. There's a thin line between that mentoring that you talk about and godfatherism. It's almost like you can't separate it. It's very easy for people to think, oh, That's his protege. It's his son, a political son, or something like that. Yeah. And the distrust comes in, as a result of that. So how do we?
But it's not that. It's the party system. We're not looking at the individual. The individual ends up being a demagogue. He wants to be. He gets there, and as soon as he puts that babariga on, and he wants to let everybody know that he is Rankadede, is the chief, is Igwe. He changes. Our culture doesn't allow us to be responsive to our leaders. My leader's in his 70s. I go to greet him. I must first dobale or kneel or give him the hand or whatever it is that I need to do. And I go there subservient to a man who's supposed to be the servant of the people. I can't talk to him. He can never hear me. He's deafened by the sirens of the escort that he has, and nobody can get to him. He doesn't do press announcements. He doesn't come and let the press interview him. It's selected. A democracy allows, the fourth realm of democracy is the media. And everybody talks all about three. But if the media is there to give an exposure of individuals, like you're doing today, like the media is trying to do, but we must expose, we must interrogate. What is in your head that will allow me to pick you as the leader of this country? So the media plays its part in a democracy, and it's what's really failing Africans. We don't know these individuals. You're going to bring a guy, and I don't know where he made his money from. I don't know how he got so powerful. I hear he was a this, and I hear he was a that. But all I know is he's got a lot of money, and I'm going to get mine, and my PVC is going to get me my 1,000 naira that's going to last me 4 years. That has got to change.
All right. Now, during the NSAS protest, we saw how the energy of young people was translated into, fighting for a common good. For the first time, a lot of people said, look, there was this religious barriers and, where people come from. We saw pictures and videos on how people, Christians were, protecting Muslims while they pray and vice versa. Yes. Talking about issue of national cohesion and the energy of young people, how can we translate that kind of energy into our political space?
It's a great question, and it's a subject I've talked about in various countries that I've been to visit on the Reset Nigeria and Reset Africa theme. We need a uniter-in-chief in Nigeria. That leader has got to put his religion to one place, his tribe to another place, and come in. He should go to church, he should go to the mosque, he should show that he's the father of all, not the father of some. And when you don't have that kind of patriarch, that kind of individual that understands that I must do well by my sisters, by my mother, by my in-laws, I must do well by my fellow man, that sees everybody as his flock, we are not going to move away from this situation where we believe that leadership is gained by funds, by who I paid, by what I do. It probably won't change things in 2023. I'm not here deceiving myself that I'm in this race and I'm going to win something. No, I'm looking at hearts and minds. I'm looking at hope, and I'm looking at starting a movement that lets young people to say, yes, I can. Yes, I can be leader. Yes, I can do things that will allow the national exposure, that allows me to speak my mind, so that I can give some engagement in politics in my country. I've lived all over the world. I've traveled for many years. I still have my Nigerian passport. And I know the harm, and I know the sweat, and I know the waiting I've done because of that passport. I know what people think the moment they see that passport, what it means. It is not a positive image. But Nigerians just sell themselves short. We are brilliant in every way we look at it. And I'll just preface this by saying, government should not be in the business of doing business. The moment government touches anything in Africa, it messes it up. Our GDP was 80% oil and gas. Today, it's 74%. The rest of that is an informal economy. It's the musicians of this world. Afrobeat, Nigerian music is celebrated worldwide. Davido, Wizkid, Tiwa Savage, they're out there promoting the best of Nigeria, and people are buying it. It's on TikTok, it's on Instagram, it's on the news, it's everywhere. That informal economy is where Nigeria's greatness lies. We were a country where sports was celebrated. You go to some countries and you say Nigerian, the first thing you say, oh, JJ Okocha, oh, Amokachi, oh, this and that. Today, where is that?
You know, it's funny how when we talk about some of these things, like the issues you mentioned in the informal sector, entertainment, sports, and all of that, there's no conversation about whether he's a Christian or he's a Muslim,
Never.
whether he's from the East But when it comes to our political space, you know, you hear concepts such as zoning, you hear concepts such as secession and all of that. You hear interest groups, you know, from time to time champion certain causes that do not necessarily, you know, foster that national cohesion. Yes. So why is it such a big issue with our politics?
Divide and conquer. Everybody's looking for their own fiefdom. I'm an Igbira man, so I'm going to get the Igbira people. I'm an Igbo man, I'm going to get the Igbira people. It doesn't work that way. We're the Federal Republic of Nigeria, not the Nigeria for the East or the Southwest or the Middle Belt. We are one country. That's why I said that uniter in chief is needed. He needs to be able to go to any part of this country and see what's going on. There's brilliance in every part of Nigeria, but somebody needs to say, you know what, that brilliance comes to the center, and a real federal government now lords over the stuff and implements things that encourages things to happen. Nollywood. We've been talking about this for years. It is massive. Netflix has taken Nollywood. Where's our government celebrating that? Where's the Nollywood Awards? Where is the music awards? Where are the concerts that bring people into the country to come and listen to these amazing celebrities and artists to perform? They're not thinking about it the way a country brings in a Formula One race, because they realize that if 100,000 people coming here and television's coming here, I'm going to get tax revenue, hotels are going to work, all the infrastructure around my city that I'm trying to promote my people with makes the economy work. And young people key into that saying, I want to be the next. Not that I want to go to America and become the next Jay-Z. I want to be the next Davido. And these young men and women in Nigeria that are celebrities, I got to take my hat off to them, because during that NSARS event, they took leadership. They spoke on behalf of the common people. If half of them wanted to run, politicians are out of business. But they're not political. They're entertainers.
Exactly, but they have an influence on the people.
Absolutely.
How can they channel that influence into bringing that change, that revolution that is needed, you know, in the political space?
It's understanding what Fela was trying to do in the past. He was a voice. He was a vocal, social voice. I don't want anyone to go lose their life, and I don't want anyone to feel that they're responsible for anything else. But this is the only country you have. You're identified by your passport, by your name. You can't go and say your name is something else. You're Nigerian, and they will ask you, you know, do you have another nationality? This is the only home we have. What people like myself are trying to do is engage them and say, what do you want Nigeria to be like? Do you want to go off Twitter again? Do you want me to come and tax you for the wrong reasons? Do you want me to come after you in a way that I don't understand your industry? If I can get my message to people like that, what happens at the end of the day is they start to believe, they start to promote your vision. And I'm not saying about me, I'm saying about any young-minded, any progressive Nigerian that sees a better Nigeria in front of them should go, and we should present ourselves to everybody, celebrities, the young, the old, women, farmers, everybody. Here's my message, and this is what I want to do for you to make this country better.
Okay. All right. Now, finally, let's talk about, you know, the issues of these secessionist, you know, agendas. We hear that, you know, from the southeastern part of the country, and we also hear that in some part of the southwest. A lot of people, you know, are calling for all that. How would you deal with that? You know, I mean, when you have people who have lost, you know, confidence, who do not feel belong to a system like ours. So how would you deal with that?
You know, the pain that somebody like me sometimes has is that I'm sort of a bridge between the young and the old. I'm 58 years old. In Nigeria, I'm still a young man because the politicians are looking at me, that small boy, not a young man. And the young guys are still looking at me, well, you know, he's saying the right things. But that bridge is what is needed right now. And that bridge says, listen, I'm 58 years old, but we had a civil war for the same thing people are trying to do today. Millions of people died. You just don't know that because, you know what, the schools don't teach it anymore. history is cut out, is devoid. Most countries know where they came from and they know where they're going. If we learned that 3 million brothers and sisters of ours from the East were killed, lost their lives, were starved because of a dream of somebody, we probably wouldn't be trying to do it again. Now, that being the past, what does the future look like? And I think a leader realizes that people in the Southeast need to feel a sense of belonging in Nigeria, so I've got to encourage that. What is the best thing about these areas that want to succeed? What is best? What is best about the Southeast? Well, they're ingenious. They make things, they're producers, they're industrious. I'm going to focus my attention on trying to get that part of that economy to feed not just Nigeria, but a global scene. Manufacturing. Improve the manufacturing capability of the southeast of Nigeria, and we're going to have a China or South Korea or Taiwan just emerge out of that place. But I can't label it a specific ethnic group. This is part of Nigeria. And in the north, it's food. Well, we do international food production. If it's the oil and gas sector, make sure that our people in the Niger Delta are screaming for some kind of liberation. How do I fix that as a leader? You know what? We're flaring gas. We've got oil and gas down there. Why don't I just turn that area into the industrial capital of Nigeria? Why don't I build factory spaces there so that the local indigents also get involved? We're flaring gas. Turn it down. Make it power that's available. Turn that into an industrial part. Why am I going to China when I can produce things in Nigeria? And that CEO mentality, that leadership mentality, is what will unite Nigeria and create jobs, security, and just brilliance. That's all it's needed.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the program. We have to end it at this point. We appreciate your coming and sharing your perspective with us on some of these issues.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Well, we've been speaking with Prince Malik Ado Ibrahim. He is a businessman and also a presidential hopeful in the coming elections, talking to us about recent happenings in the country. With that, we've come to the end of the show for today. Join us again next week for another time on the program. You can always catch up on our YouTube and also connect with us via our social media platforms. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.